students, I hope all of you are doing very well and you are learning about this subject quality assurance with your full enthusiasm. So, we are actually learning how we can ensure the quality in our pharmaceutical product. This is the 12th lecture. I hope you already have seen my previous lectures. In this lecture, I am going to tell you all about the contamination. I have told you that how contamination is playing a very big role in the to degrade the quality of the product. In this lecture, I am going to tell you various types of contamination and how you will be able to control these kinds of contamination. Now, let me start with the basic introduction. So, if I tell you, I am to tell you that introduction of undesired dust or dirt into or onto during manufacturing, packing or and also transportation is called actually contamination. Okay. Yes, there are some difference between contaminant and contamination. There are some differences. Okay. Just focus the first word, undesirable dust, dirt or to during whatever the things actually happening during the manufacturing, we are actually calling as the contamination. Contaminant, what is contaminant? Contaminant is the unwanted element being introduced into the system. It is any substance which has an adverse effect on the product and the process. For example, some dust particle, some microbes or some substances, small particle substances, it is coming in contact with your product, with your tablet manufacturing process, with your sterile that is production areas. Definitely it will be create some impact on your substance, because when the formulation was actually formulated, the actual formula was actually developed, that time such kind of contamination has not happened. It was done in a complete sterile area. If any pyrogen or any kinds of things are actually associated coming to the your product, definitely it will be create a big impact. That is why it is very much essential. Now, what are the types of various contamination? The most common type is the physical contamination, like particle, fiber, etc., etc. Chemical contamination is also happening, for example, like moisture, vapor, various kinds of molecule or gases. And yes, there is something also called biological contamination, like bacteria, viruses, fungi, etc., etc. So, these are the various types. You can see few of the types is very easily we can control. For example, physical contamination, it is very easy to control. Particle, fiber, dust, dirt, etc., etc. This thing very easily we can control this kinds of contamination. Chemical contamination, to control the chemical contamination, we need to work with very organized way. For example, moisture, vapor, these things are present in the air. So, to minimize such kind of contamination, you have to purify the air. The air whatever entering to your that is a premises, working premises, that air is coming through AKtU, air humidifying unit. If you use proper filter or if you use proper machineries, you can control. For biological contamination, obviously in my next lecture I will also tell you about the cleaning, by only maintaining the cleaning, sanitizing, you can able to maintain. Now, one by one, after giving you the types, let me tell you the potential sources of contamination, from where this contamination is actually happening. First, personal, means the people those are actually working in the industry, they are the first source of contamination. How? People who are performing or supervising pharmaceutical manufacturing and packaging processes can be a strong source of contamination. Somebody is coming from the outside of the environment. In the time of winter, especially in Delhi NCR area, we have seen that how much pollutants are actually present. Somebody is coming from such pollutant, carrying some pollutant in their dresses, in their hair or body parts. What will happen if he does not sanitize his hands and clean properly his hand and mouth or his hair? Obviously, he is actually carrying some pollutants, some dust particle from the outside of the environment. That is why this is personals are the first source of contamination. I have also told you about the biological. You remember in my previous slide I have told you about the bacteria, virus, these are the third sources of contamination. So, what I am actually trying to tell, a personal, somebody is suffering from COVID-19, it means the SARS-CoV-2 virus is present in his nasal cavity, in his lung, in his body, and if he is sneezing, obviously the virus will come out in the droplet, and if those droplet may contaminate your product, obviously your product will having SARS-CoV-2, and when you are all of you are aware the virus can survive anywhere with a proper good environment, and if a patient may consume this particular tablet or substance, he will be taking the virus with himself. I have taken the example of SARS-CoV-2, but there are also some viruses, some microbes, they can survive at high temperature also. That is why these are some example I am trying to bring in, that is get to your attention much more deeper. These are the some areas where personals are actually that is a potential sources of contamination. Then the manufacturing facility, the facility or the building may be another sources of potential primary sources of contamination. How a manufacturing facility can become the potential source of contamination? The answer is that if your manufacturing unit is so old and the walls are actually not proper in its condition, what will happen? The dust particle will be come out from it. Okay. And also if for a long period of time you have not cleaned, if you have not done the coloring and other things, at that scenario what will happen? The microbes will be kept in the walls. That is why manufacturing facility. Materials, another very important, the quality, handling, controlling of raw materials can be a cause of pharmaceutical contamination. Quality, handling, control of raw materials. We have to maintain the that is quality of the raw materials, you see, but this is manageable in industry. What I have seen, when a raw material is actually coming to the industry, QA and QC, that is quality control, and QA, that is quality assurance people, they become very active. Before going to the main area, before going to the main production area, it is actually kept in the quarantine area, from where they actually take some sample, they analyze it, they check it whether any microbes are present in that raw materials or not. If it is present, they reject it, they do not allow it for the further activity, for the taking that sample to the storage area, and from the storage area to the main production area. Also manufacturing process can be also sometimes will be a potential source of the contamination. There are high chances of contamination throughout the manufacturing process. You are preparing your manufacturing tablet, but you are not serious about the microbial contamination. You are producing some paste with starch, and after producing the starch you have not cleaned all those things, and somebody is actually entering to your that is a premises from the outside without proper sanitization and other things. He is carrying lots of bacteria, and he is going to your this area where you have prepared this paste from starch. So, bacteria will be going also come to the contamination. It will be, when it will getting the starch, it will be able to multiply itself, and then your entire area, and when in next time when you use those area again, it will be create a big issue. That is why it is a manufacturing process related. Now, every problem having some solution, all the problems in this world coming with a solution. My dear students, as you are very young, you should always remember everything is present in this planet in pairs, good, bad, right, wrong, black, white, everything is coming into the world in pairs. If there is a problem, automatically there will be some solution. I have told you lots of negative thing about the contamination. Now, what is the solution? How to control the contamination? Let me take to you. First, you need to identify the sources of pharmaceutical contamination. It is not enough to just maintain the optimum bioburden level. Through cleaning and disinfection, identifying the occurrence of the contaminant and preventing the same also critical to the quality control. The potential sources, what are the things? We already have seen the personnel, manufacturing facilities, materials and manufacturing process can be the potential source. So, first to control the contamination, first you have to check that from where it is coming, from where the contamination is happening. In quality control, if your product is getting failed, check the potential source, primary source. After that, you can manage the personal contamination. You have to ensure the personnel involved in the production and handling process is highly qualified and has professional training in hygiene and cleanliness. The quality control people, the quality assurance people, the production people, they should have enough training about how to clean their hands, how to clean their areas, working areas, how to clean the equipments, how to ensure that yes, whatever the cleanliness was done, it is correct, that is validation. Okay. So, if you do proper training, in that case you will be getting good results, and they must always wear protective clothing when inside in the manufacturing unit and never handle the product in bare hands. Gloves they should wear, and strict discipline must be maintained regarding not to eat, drink within the production unit, washing hands after toilet and use. See, in India or in an Indian pharma company, this is never possible for anyone to eat anything in the production areas. Immediately you will be fired. Immediately you will be fired. Okay. You are not allowed to take a single pen also. If you want to take the pen, it is not allowed. Mobile phone not allowed, nothing is allowed. In production area, if you are producing some tablet, nothing is allowed to take with you into the premises. So, today as a student, you might be not able to live a few minutes without mobile, but if you go to the industry, you will have to compromise to stay without your mobile. Mobile phones are not allowed, wearing ring was not allowed, nothing is actually allowed into the premises, because we are trying to control the contamination. Disinfection, another way you can control. All the areas must be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected on the regular basis. Make sure only fully trained personnel to use the cleaning agents and minimize the health risk. Yes, very much important, health risk. In my previous lecture, I have mentioned you that we are actually not using the same cleaning agents for all the months. We are actually trying to change it. We are actually in alternatively we are actually using. There are 3 or 4 cleaning agents are commonly used. In every week, we are actually trying to use different cleaning agents, but yes, to use that thing you need the qualified people, so that risk health risk can be minified. Now, the application of contact time, chemistry, mechanical action and temperature of the cleaning agents must be considered while designing the cleaning process. If I tell you more, make sure the cleaning material do not come in direct contact with the pharmaceutical product. Usually, before starting the batch, we actually do the cleaning activity, and after completing our entire batch manufacturing, again we do the cleaning activity. So, the product whatever we are actually producing, that product officially generally it will be never direct income contact with our cleaning material and product. Okay. So, regulates cleaning practices throughout the building and manufacturing unit for effective control and elimination of the microbial contamination. Okay. Another point, another way we can that is control the contamination is actually called improved facility design. The facility design should comply with regulatory standard. ensuring that humidity, temperature, air filtration is properly maintained. Okay. Using UV airlocks, restricted access barrier systems or laminar flow in the manufacturing or packaging areas will help to eliminate particles and other contaminants. Okay. So, there is something called, right now this is the era of 21st century, this is the era of design thinking. Let me write in the board DESIGN. This is the era of design thinking. Everywhere we are actually using design, design expert, formulation by design, quality by design. You might have heard this word QBD, quality by design, FBD, formulation by design. Everywhere you will be observing that nowadays our experts are actually preferring the design. Why? Why it is important? Because when you design something, when you will do your work with designing, you are actually minimizing lots of risks. You are actually having the entire control, so that in future the less contamination will be happen. So, if you design your facilities in a correct manner, if you design your entire this area with proper design, in that scenario there are chances you will be designing your entire assembly in such a manner, so that there will be a less chance of microbial contamination. If I tell you more, you can also control the contamination by that is the following: the building requirements of decontamination. Make sure the interior surfaces like ceiling, walls, floors are free from cracks and smooth. It should be facilitate the effective cleaning. Viewing panels and windows must be sealed and non opening to prevent the collection of the microbes, dust and particles. Before that is in my last previous slides, I have mentioned you that how a building, how the area where we are actually producing our substance, that area can be a source of potential contamination. So, that is why it is important. You may install stainless steel sinks inside the manufacturing unit. You can also focus on the light points, ventilation, pipe works. This must be designed so as to facilitate the efficient cleaning. Okay. And you can also focus on the regulated water. When you will join industry, you will be observing there is separate department called water department. There is a separate department called water department. Now, sir, what is water department? Basically, water department is actually associated with the QC, quality control. Also, there are some work actually associated with the quality assurance. So, what QC is actually doing? The quality assurance chemist, he or she will visit the entire working premises, collect these samples from various sources and give the sample to the QC chemist. They will analyze, they will check whether any pathogen, microbes, bacteria, virus or any other chemicals is actually present in this water or not. If it is present, then that water should be not allowed to take for our production purposes. So, this is right now we are actually working. So, in QC chemist, if they found any of the contamination of microbes present in that particular substance, then they will tell them that stop using that water. That is why to prevent waterborne contamination, make sure that only distilled water actually used in manufacturing of the pharmaceutical product. There are various types of water were actually used in our pharmaceutical world. One is actually called distilled water, demineralized water, then raw water, then we actually call it as a RO. Okay. Then another is thing actually called it's a PO. There are various kinds of water actually are actually using. Steam, humidification, supply for autoclave must be free from additives and clean. And also you can eliminate the contamination by eliminating the contamination transporter. How? Reduce human intervention, allow very less amount of people to come and enter to your working premises. controlling the use of equipment for a different product, controlling the use of air, controlling the use of water. Okay. So, if you control all such things, there are chances you will be having a better understanding for contamination of the for contamination of microbes, pyrogen, bacteria, viruses, dirt, dust with your product. Also take sample in a room that has suitable air control and check prevent contamination of airflow. This arrow whatever I am actually trying to tell you, that airflow, based on airflow also sometime contamination can be happen. See from the area where air is actually coming, from the area where air is actually coming, near about this area some dust particles are actually present. So, what will happen? Air will go through with those dust will come to the air and entire dust will be circulated into the room. That is why it is important. And also ensure proper cleaning of equipments to prevent the biological contamination. These microbes whatever you are observing in the microscope, these microbes are very dangerous. These microbes can degrade your product, these microbes can contaminate your product, and if your product having those microbes and people consume them, what will happen? They will be having the diseases. So, that is why you have to ensure all those things and properly design the airflow system to prevent the airflow contamination. Okay. And you can also dispensing stations should have proper dust extraction system. For example, this whatever observing dust will be, if whatever the dust is present within these premises, it will coming out. And also take the line clearance from when you will be producing some tablet in your unit, you will have to take the line clearance from the QA chemist. Here I have written checklist, what are the things will be in checklist, like humidity, temperature, pressure, presence of this thing called air quality index. Okay. In ppm we are actually calculating these things. So, such kind of checklist will be there, they will check, and also unwanted substances. So, QA chemist will check all those checklist and then they will give the approval called line clearance. They will give the approval for line clearance. So, that the production chemist can start their production activity. So, on today's lecture we have learned that introduction to control of contamination. You have seen what are the various types, there are 3 types: personal, biological and physical. You also have seen the potential sources of contamination, and you also have seen how you can control the contamination. So, that is it from my side for today. In next lecture I will be telling you about the equipments. What are the equipments? Because we already have seen our various aspects. Now, you need to know about the equipments, how you can select a good equipments, what are the questions and what are the documents are required for the equipments, and what should be the purchase specification for the equipments. That thing we are going to learn in our next lecture. So, thank you all of you, thank you for listening me for more than 20 minutes. I am very happy that you are learning. I hope your understanding of quality assurance is day by day after listening our lectures is going to deeper and deeper, and I hope in your upcoming days these things will help you a lot for your understanding and for your future activities, and you will be successful in this field. So, all the best, thank you all of you for joining. We may meet in our next lecture. God bless you all.